ध्वज,
मॉर्निंग सर।
ध्वज IIM लखनऊ के ऊपर लहरा रहा है।
Yup.
How are you feeling, Dhwaj, being part of IIM Lucknow?
It's mixed feelings. Like, I was really excited when I joined it. I was like, this is going to be a different thing. I have arrived. But when you join IIM Lucknow, when you see the competition you're around, you see you haven't arrived. You've just begun on the journey. So mixed feelings, because there's a little bit of fear that what's going to be ahead. But that also brings a sense of adventure. Ki, aha, ab aage kya hai? I have to compete. I have to play with these people. I have to learn with these people. And it's a sort of excitement, but also a fear of the unknown. But I think that's how life is. So it's actually a very good step, the next step that I've taken, and I actually look forward to going ahead.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dhwaj, for people who are going to watch this or who are watching this, I would like you to briefly share about your profile, where from, the schools, your scores, college scores, WCAGs, whatever you wish to like to share, crisply but to the point.
Yeah, sure, sir. So I'm actually from Guwahati. So I did my 10th till Guwahati, and I had a really good score. I was academically always bright. So I scored the perfect score in class 10. Then I did my high school from Delhi Public School, R.K. Puram, because my parents wanted me to get an outside exposure. Now in 12th, I did pretty well too. I scored 97. So academically, my 9th, 10th was really strong. And I'm an engineer. So after 11th, 12th, I joined an engineering college. But after continuous a lot of studying, I came to engineering. I was like, mujhe apni freedom chahiye. So engineering, you could say my grades dropped a bit. So it was 75.2. I managed to pass with first class with distinction, but it was not that awesome. And my college experiences, if you ask intangibles, it's not there. I just don't have any tangibles to show for college. Then I had I was placed in the very first 15 days of my placement session. So I was placed at Deloitte USI. I worked for 22 months out there. But the IT job and being the first job, okay, I was good, but this was not what I wanted to do. This is not what I had envisioned for my life. So after 22 months, I quit. I had come back home. Now I had a family business. I joined my dad. I worked at my family business. Now that was where I learned a lot of things which I had never known, because it's a completely different ball game. You have to take responsibilities. You have to do a lot of stuff. And with that family business part, I realized that, okay, I also need an MBA. If I go with this, my dad, what he knows it through trial and error. So then I decided to prepare for an MBA, and now I'm here and giving my interview to Sreeni sir. So I think I made the right decisions down the road.
How long were you part of your family business?
So I was actually when I came back home, it was just before the pandemic.
Okay.
So I came back home. I talked to my parents that I don't like the work at Deloitte and all of that. So then they started bringing me in. Now the thing is, since it's a family business, everybody has a set role. Now if I suddenly come in, what am I supposed to do? So what I did was, and what my father actually helped me do was, he helped me launch my own division at my family business. So overnight, I became my own boss. Now that meant that I had to take up a lot of responsibilities, and it was a different thing altogether. But overall, I was, for more or less 11 to 12 months, I was part of my family business.
Wonderful, wonderful.
एक साल हो गया वापस. So the thing is, you give the test with mock says ki you're able to see that number directly. Ki, Achha, this is my performance. I know it. Now I come out of the CAT and I'm like, there's some people who have big smiles on their face, some people who are dejected. I'm like, okay, I can sympathize with the dejected person, but I don't want to be the dejected person, because ultimately my performance it has to be good. And the happy people, and I'm like, if I go and discuss with these happy folks, I don't know what's gonna happen. So again, And I also had the flu, so it was again like I just before the exam I had taken some medicines, some antihistamines, so that it doesn't flow. So now it was coming back. My eyes were getting watery. So now mixture of emotions. It was cocktail. I was like, again, gaya ek saal, I have to prepare for it again, or maybe this was my last attempt. Maybe I'm not doing it. So I sat in my car. I'm going back. But in the back of my mind, I closed my eyes. I was thinking about the paper that I'd given. And there was this glimmer of hope. Okay, English section to matlab simple tha. LRDI में accurate तो I was able to solve that, and quant में भी मैंने अच्छे से किया, and maybe I'm able to crack that 100 mark wala score. Maybe I'll reach that 99 plus, maybe. But there was that glimmer of hope. But again, the thing was, last time I'd scored 87. Now this time my target was at least 99 plus. So I was like, shut this glimmer of hope down. Maybe I've wasted it all again. So mixture of emotions, but I was like, F1 hai, Formula 1 hai, there's a good race today. I'll eat some pizzas, I'll relax. And the thing is, my parents were a really big help there. They never expected anything out of me. So they never put an additional pressure, ki, Dhwaj, how did you perform or anything? So when I came back home, my mom was like, Dhwaj, what pizza do you want to have today? So that was like how that brought me down. But it was a mixture of cocktails, not knowing ki whether I'm going to go through.
So tell me, when the CAT committee announced the answer sheet, what did you discover?
I did not actually. So I was so sure in my mind that I'd watched the exam up. Ki MBA is out of the picture, that I focused on my family business. So I had actually started a new division. So now I had to be invested. I had to be the first one in and the last one out, because me being the boss, I had my own team and they would take cues from me itself. So I was invested in that.
So you're completely off the radar in terms of CAT. So when the CAT results came,
so that was the day panic struck. Okay, I was like, I clutched my hairs and I just squatted down. I was like, what the shit just happened? Because now I'd scored 99 plus. I'd scored 99.16. Now B schools are gonna come calling. Now this last 1 month, when I could have put in some time for that interview prep, I did not. So suddenly that panic struck. I told my dad, ki, hey dad, this is the thing. My dad was happy. My mom was happy. Ki, they were happy. Ki, you had scored really well. Your hard work paid dividends. But I was like, what comes next is more scary than what was before, because it's personal interview. So again, but then what happened was I was immediately, then very next day, I signed up on CL's PDP program. So now that when I signed up on the PDP program, your person on WhatsApp, I can't remember his name. He was really helpful. Like I used to text him on WhatsApp. Now what do I need to do? Now what do I need to do? And he walked me through it completely. Okay, now you need to fill this thing. You need to reach out to your mentor, and it's gonna happen. So I reached out to GP Sir, and he told me to do a few things. Now that's a different part. I think you'll obviously reach out to that. So, but again, it was like, I was lucky, guys. Like, just don't take it from me. But the thing was, I did a lot of things correctly, but I did a lot of things wrong too. But being on time, and I realized it later that I should have actually been, if I can say this, man enough, or I should have been at least confident enough to have checked my test results before, so that my preparation for the interview could have gone smoother. For me, that preparation suddenly meant that I had to put in extra effort and I had to be extra smart because I'd wasted that 1 month, which could have been used really productively. So that's the thing.
Tell me, what made you pick PDP Personalized? There are so many in the marketplace.
So as I said, keep it simple, silly. All I knew was CL. The mocks had gotten me this far. Obviously, you guys are smart enough to get me through the next hurdle too. So the thing is, there's a lot of, in our age, in my generation's age, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of info here, there. But you gotta cut through the clutter, pick up one thing, stick with it, Don't go around कि अच्छा ये भी कर सकता हूँ मैं ये भी कर सकता हूँ नहीं करना मुझे you have to just focus on just one thing. I'll just focus on one thing. Keep it simple, silly. Don't do it too much. It's a formula for disaster. Do one thing good and you'll go through.
So simple logic was CL took me through the cat का नैया पार हो गया, इंटरव्यू भी पार हो जाएगा, इधर बैठे रहो इसके इधर. Or tell me, a lot of people when they look at PDP Personalized and the way it starts, it asks you to do your 2,500 words biography and fill these questions, fill this psychometric test, and a lot of people wonder, यार ये क्या करा रहे हैं, मुझे तो इंटरव्यू की तैयारी करना है, ये पता नहीं क्या क्या करवा रहे हैं. So what did you go through, and what do you realize then, and what do you realize now, why that process happens?
Guys, I think they know what they're doing, because when you enter B school, this is the first question they'll ask you to work on. So the thing is, you enter B school and they're going to ask you, write your HR questions. Why do you want to do an MBA? What challenges did you face? What are you going to do about this? And they have this thing, don't tell us, show us. And what PDP does, and what the whole way this is structured is, you tell us, don't you show us, don't tell us. And how will you show it to them? You'll show it through your past experiences. And the best way is, what they tell you to write is that 2,500 word. And you might think you know what you're wanting or where you come from, but once you start putting it into words, you suddenly realize it's not that easy. It becomes concrete. It becomes a reality when you put it into words. And suddenly you realize a lot of stuff. And guys, it is actually pretty important. Okay, it's like, okay, you don't need to write it professionally like you have written a novel. This is like the next bestseller, the story of my life. No, put it in honest words as much as you can, so that it is actually for you, it is not for somebody else, so that you know where you are coming from. So when you go into the interviewer and the interviewer asks you, tell us about yourself, why you're doing this, you're actually able to go ahead and know who you are. The mentors are there, they're going to help you frame your answers. Those mock interviews, they're going to test you, but that 2,500 wala part, it actually brings a lot of things into perspective which you did not know they were there lying behind at the back of your head. So guys, you don't have to write it like the best Pulitzer Prize novel. No, just write it for yourself, and it's really important that you go ahead with that.
Okay. And those 10 questions that you have to answer, and the psychometric tests and the outcome on analysis of psychometric tests your mentors do, were those of great value?
So the thing is, the psychometric tests, they told me that I'm not a good team player and I have some issues and all of that. Again, they bring it into the perspective, okay, these are certain weaknesses that you have. And when you're aware of those weaknesses, you're able to keep the interviewer off those weaknesses. And you know, these are the areas which I don't have to show it to the interviewer. So because of those tests, I was able to know, okay, this is who I am. At a certain point, you have to also accept the fact that this is just who you are. Now, there's no point being that this is good, this is bad, nothing's good, nothing's bad, this is who you are. But again, you have to also be mindful, what do you want to show to the interviewer? And that 2,500 and those psychometric tests and all those questions that you have, they bring it to the perspective, okay, this is how I'm supposed to frame my questions, this is how I'm supposed to do it. And those 10 questions, they're very interview specific. The interviewer may ask all of those 10 questions. They may ask just one question on that and then delve deeper into it. So those questions that you have, basically these guys know what they're doing. Like, all I can say is that these guys know. Trust the process and you'll see colors.
Tell me the first interaction that you had with GP, the story and what he got out of you. How did it go, and in what way that interaction impacted you?
Yeah, so what happened was, as I told you, I was late to this process. So I did not go through that, like that 2,500 questions. I was still writing that, but I still booked a slot with GP. So I was like, I got to get this done. Otherwise, I would miss out on this. So I have like 3 mock interviews. I gotta get this done. So I haven't completed that 2500 thing. And GP sir had said go through this one video on how to go for a CAT interview. I did not go through that interview, and it was just horrendous. Like he went on asking questions, I could not answer, I could not concise it, and it was just horrendous. After the interview, he tells me, ki, Dhwaj, this was really poor. This is all the things that you messed up. And I was like, God, like this is simply like this is the worst that could happen to me. And I actually felt really sad that I had let myself down and that the mentor had high hopes from me. And this was just horrendous. So again, then he told me, he took up all my points, he took all of my stories. He said, Dhwaj, don't focus on those 2500 questions, let let that be water under the bridge. Tell me your life story. So he heard my life story. I told him that I don't know how to put certain things into words, and he told me that, so the thing is, I've always been, cat was the only thing I did consistently. Apart from that, everything was all one nighters. So I told sir ki, sir, आज तक तो सब all nighters करके आया हूँ. So if you ask me what is my strength, तो मैं तो all nighter ही बोलूंगा, या मतलब कि I was just lucky. So he said कि Dhwaj, luck happens once or twice. You have been consistently performing high. So there's something about you and you need to dive deep. And he was always available on calls and all that, but he helped me frame my answers. He helped me find an objective way of putting the things. Now, after the interview, I went through his video on how to take the CAT interview. And then I realized all things that he has said not to do, I had done all of those things. I was not concise. I was not focused on those parts. And then I called him up. I was like, sir, I'm sorry. I just saw that video. And that point you said, ki CAT interview is like an uncle you're meeting at a wedding. You don't want to talk to that uncle, but she has a beautiful daughter. So you definitely would like to talk to that uncle. And then I was like, that suddenly, there were those moments suddenly where the light bulb clicked for me. And then I saw my mistakes red-handed. Okay, these were my clear mistakes. So, okay. Then I went for my, so basically they brought in that I needed to like up my game. CAT was easy, but this is something else. CAT was a rejection based test. This was an acceptance based test. So that was, and GP sir put me in my place. I went into that interview cocky, like, yeah, I've scored 99 plus, up to ho hi jayega. And GP sir put me in my place. And I think I deserve that lesson. Ki, Dhwaj, calm down. You haven't reached. Again, there's new challenges ahead. So that first interaction, that was really wonderful. Like,
so here you are, you realize all the things you got to cover. Perhaps he would have told you to work on some subjects, your work experience, the marketplace of the company that you work for, consulting firm, then perhaps study, get into last couple of years happenings and blah blah blah. So you had very short time to do. So what if you got to tell people that, yeah, your interviews are far away, but these are some of the things that you should be doing now, even before you write the CAT, make it a point to make it a habit every day. So what all things that you will tell people, invest 1 hour every day on these things, what all things that you would like to tell?
Reading for sure. Like, you need to be aware of the world around you. You just cannot go into CAT saying, ki, I know me, I know my environment, but the thing is, you're trying to get an MBA and you're trying to interact with the world. So you cannot say I'm isolated from the world. You need to know what's going around in the world. So reading a newspaper, that would pay dividends not only in your CAT exam, but it'll also pay dividends during the interview. Because if you have had diverse readings, you can put diverse perspectives to the interview panel and they'll be amazed. So basically, the thing is, the interview panel wants to know you. They want to know what you have to offer. So if you have done some sort of diverse reading, what it does is it brings in a new So the thing is, they have been taking interviews throughout years and throughout multiple interviews throughout the day. So if you have just this one point which stands out or a new perspective on things, it puts you in their radar ki, okay, he has done his research. So reading one thing every day and keeping a tab on the happenings, local happenings at least, that is what I would expect any CAT aspirant to be doing. And reading is a must. Take up the Hindu. I think it's a very good newspaper. They are anti-government, so your sentiments, if you hate Modi ji, I think you can go ahead with that. But the Hindu is a very good place to start. And apart from that, I also was reading Economist and a little bit other articles. So I had a different perspective on things. So going into the
so what you say is at least regularly be abreast with the news that is happening. Rest all things may happen. Okay. Let me ask a couple of questions. You had one mock interview with GP and a couple of more with others. That is what CL-PDP does. Not same person takes the second interview. So in what way this multiple set of people taking multiple mocks really helped you in the real interview?
So the thing with CL-PDP is those mocks are more tougher than the actual interviews. So if you're able to get through those mocks, know it in the back of your mind that the real interview is gonna be easy, because the CL panel, it's their point to put you under the gun, to put pressure on you, to test how ready are you. So the thing is, taking tests with other people is, the first you took it with a mentor, he had certain pointers to give it to you. So for the next interview that you have, he's given you certain pointers to work on. Now, if you take it with the same person, he's going to be looking, have you worked on those pointers? But a lot of other things might miss his notice. But when you go into the other interview with a different person who is taking it, he's going to bring in new perspective into it. And he's also going to check that the pointers that your mentor had given you, are you able to execute it and whether it sells? Because the person who has given you pointers is going to think, okay, this is a good answer. But if you're not able to sell it to some other person, then it becomes the issue. So getting it done by a second person, it brings in a fresh perspective as to whether those points that your mentor had given, they are working or not. One. Secondly, they also bring in some other things which you're not doing right, which might have escaped in your first interview. So for me was, I was actually, he said your body language was not that proper. So I understood that. I took it in good stride. And then I looked at the video. I did see ki I had like drooped shoulders. I was like, okay, chalta hai wala attitude, and like this is a mock. So that gives a wrong impression to the panelist. And he said that since the interviews are going to be online, they're going to be seeing your shoulders, they're going to be seeing your face. So it's important that you focus on the little things. Now, GP sir did not tell me this. So this was something new that I got from my second interview. And they grill you hard. They grill you on the questions. So like GP sir had told me to figure out an answer to this. Now, I sold that answer, but then there were certain loopholes to that, which the second interviewer found out. So then I went back to GP sir. I said, sir, look, these are the loopholes. And then he told me, and the thing with GP sir is he'll never give you a straight answer. He'll ask you, what do you feel? And then you say your answer, and then he's like, yeah, yahi to bolna hai tujhe. And then this suddenly makes you realize, okay, I had it in me, but maybe. So basically, the thing is with interview prep is, you have to be yourself. You have to have certain things, you have it at the back of your mind, but the mentors and that repetitive interviews with different panelists, they bring it front. They make you realize that, okay, now from the back of your mind, it's in the front of your mind. These are the things that have to be done. So the whole process, it's designed, and I think it's a very good design system. Like, I have no complaints with it.
Tell me, how different were the real interviews from CL mock interviews? Were there interesting anecdotes in the real interviews?
So I think this is my IIM Lucknow interview itself. So firstly, there are two panelists, and the thing is with CL interviews is GP sir or the second panelist I gave my mock interview with, they were stoned. They were like, okay, I'm going to screw you. I'm going to ask you hard questions. But when you went to the panelists, they were actually smiling and they actually wanted to know you. So there was this one thing. And the thing is, I had mock interviews before that. Not mock interviews, I had real interviews. So I knew my mistakes that I'd done in those previous interviews. So this was the IIM Lucknow interview. So it went normally. They asked me standard questions. And the thing is, they did not ask me, why do you want to do an MBA? Which was a very good pleasure for me. Okay, they're not asking that. They just asked me what you have been doing for the past months. So I said, okay, I'm in the hospitality business. My my father runs a 4-star hotel. So I'm with that. So then it shifted to pandemic and how pandemic affected the hotel business. So again, you had to be aware of the points that you're saying. So you had to be putting figures into the pandemic thing. So I said, ki pandemic, it has been tough, but the state government has helped us a lot with all of these. And Assam, I put in numbers as these were the number of total COVID cases that had come in Assam, and it's low compared to other states. So knowing Assam's place in the whole global system in India, that helped me put in certain points. Secondly, the interview was really good. They asked me what was going on in the Middle East and what I had my viewpoints on it. Now, since I had been reading a lot of different things, I said it's the new Cold War, and that point, it stuck with them. I said, the original Cold War was between United States and Russia. This is the Cold War between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and that brought in a different picture into it. And they suddenly felt I knew something more. Also, they asked me about the whether I had visited Turkey or not. So I said no, but I've heard Turkish coffee is good, and I've seen videos of that Turkish ice cream. So that was a little fun point that I made, but it was good. Then at the end, I think the female panelist, she asked me, Dhwaj, do you have any questions for me? Now, I did not have high hopes from myself because the interview was pretty standard. I did not feel I stood out. So I just asked him, ma'am, what would you want me to do before I join a B school? So she was, for once, she said this B school, but then she corrected herself and said, Dhwaj, before you join a B school, I'll suggest that you read a little bit of old books, those 18th century, 19th century books, so that you get a HR perspective on things, a human perspective on things, because up until now, you haven't had that. Now, the thing was, I was reading a lot of old literature just before the interview. So I was able to say, ma'am, but yeah, ma'am, I understand. I've been doing that. I've been reading Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, the male panelist, for sure, he had a smile on his lips. What is this guy saying? And the female panelist was also amused. So, and then I was telling them about this book, the old Victorian setting, and how this is different from these days novels. And then the interview ended, and she was like, okay, Dhwaj, keep on doing it, and all the best. Now, after the interview, I had a good laugh. Now, at the back of my mind, I had this thing, either this makes my interview or this breaks my interview. But this will definitely make my interview something different. It'll make it stand out. So I don't advise everybody to do it, but luckily it worked for me, I guess. So it was a risk I took. I felt I had to do something to stand out a little bit, and I did that about it.
Dhwaj, is it possible to invite father into the interaction?
Definitely so. Could you just give me 2 minutes?
Yeah. Very good morning. I'm Sreeni here. Pleasure having you on this program.
It's our pleasure also. Morning.
Very good morning. And I got to know that you've been an entrepreneur, and Dhwaj joined you a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. I just want to know, first I'll ask Dhwaj, then I'll come to you. Dhwaj, it is a great time for you to pay tributes to your parents. I want to know, what is the contribution that your parents did to you during this journey of yours and this final journey of getting to the dream B school you always wanted to be? Yeah.
So the thing is, my parents, they allowed me to fail. Like, they never put a pressure on me, ki, Dhwaj, you need to do this, Dhwaj, you need to do that. Go be yourself. And they never put extra pressure on me. No. So having at the back of my mind, ki, okay, can take a risk. If I fail, I have my parents backing me. So that made all the difference in the end, because I did not have additional pressure from my parents. And the thing is, my father does not bring business back home. So even if we are in a financially struggling or any of that, he does not bring it back home. So and he does not add pressure on me. So all that pressure has to come either from inside, but there's no additional pressure from my father or my mother. And they've allowed me to fail, and they've said, Ki Dhwaj, irrespective of whether you fail or whether you succeed, go be yourself and we'll still love you. So at the end, that made all the difference for me, because I can be me, and I'm allowed to fail. So I'm allowed to take risks. So that's all I can ask. And I think.
So tell me, when father told you that you start this new division for me, so what was going on in your head? What were you thinking? What made him do so?
So the thing is, again, he understands that I need to be myself, and I like to do things my way. Now, if I go ahead and I start working with him, I'll have to do things his way, and then we're gonna have a fight. I want to do this way. He wants to do it this way, and obviously this won't gel that well. And again, we cannot leave business at business and then be all happy go family at the home. So he said, Dhwaj, go do your start your own division. I'm financially backing you. Do whatever decisions you want to do. So now the thing is, being in a corporate setting, I had somebody who was telling me what needed to be done. Now I have, in this situation, my father who is saying, do whatever you want. So there are so many ideas that come through your mind, but when you put them down on paper and when you go about executing them, it's a different ball game altogether. You realize, Acha, I had this plan in my mind, but aisa to hua nahi. So now what can I do? So there were a lot of entrepreneurial lessons. And again, I believe, like what my father did was the right thing. Rather than telling me the way, he told me to find out.
I want to now move to him. Sir, this was a master stroke, I believe. So what made you make this decision of giving the onus on Dhwaj?
Actually, he's the first person who opted out from commerce background and he opted for engineering. So he was a trendsetter in the family. But we are a family of entrepreneurs. So somewhere back in the mind, it was in my mind, he may choose a different path and leave the entrepreneurship thing. So during COVID, the hotel industry, tourism industry was passing through a difficult time. So in Hyderabad, and he had seen the way these cloud kitchen things are working and way they are serving. So he came up with that idea. So I got an opportunity that I can divert him to that path of entrepreneurship. And being from the family business background, we are aware that there may be ups and downs, but ultimately, if you are perseverance enough, you lead to success. So he took the responsibility, and he fulfilled my inner wish that he wanted to do something on the entrepreneur scale. So both things gelled, and ultimately it is a grand success. It's a very grand success.
Wonderful.
So we never thought we could have done this without him as such.
Oh, that's wonderful. So he created another revenue stream for you.
Yes.
Perhaps that stream has a greater potential to really grow.
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I want to ask, what is it that you would like to leave for parents in general? Because there is always a struggle of generations. There is always struggle of thought processes, and this freedom versus the boundaries, etc. And what I see is there is a great lesson that others can learn, but I want you to vocalize those things. What are things that the parents can really do to facilitate the children to chart out their path and really excel in life?
One aspect I would say is one is communication, and second is as a parents we can set an outer boundary line. These are the limits, or as regards behavior is concerned, or my capacity to invest, or those things are there. But within those boundaries, we have to give them freedom to operate so that they can work on they can do their experiments also, they can take risk, and that capacity is within our reach. So we are giving them freedom to operate also, to take risk also, but within certain broader parameters. Now, once they are able and they are able to handle it properly, we can expand that horizon furthermore and keep on expanding that. So that ultimately both the purpose are served. The child is also learning. He is also learning how to take risk or take decisions, but within the broader parameters which we parents can set. And communication is the key. It's not we are not having differences of opinion. We do have our own differences, but those can happen with any two persons. So overall, जो है कि the freedom to operate within the broad parameters, and then we can expand those parameters as and when needed. That's
Wonderful, wonderful. So you always look for a win-win in any given process. Wonderful. In the whole process of because last 1.5 years also he has been at home, and during this journey he also has accomplished something we always wanted to accomplish, and it is coincidental also. Career Launcher has been part of this journey, and you also would have got a lot of insights into the way first I want to ask, do you see any transformation in Dhwaj's way of looking at things in this process, especially in the last 5-6 months of going through this? After written examination, it's only one challenge, and after written examination, qualifying. So there is a whole process that we see as a transformational process. Did you experience this transformational process that he undergone with CL?
Yes, a lot. He has matured a lot, and now before communicating or speaking something, he makes an internal judgment. What should I speak and what should not I speak, and how should I present myself, or how should I construct my thoughts and then communicate at the various stages and the entire things. Before selecting Career Launcher, he had other options also, but he studied a lot on his own. He made entire things, and then he opted for this, and then he was regularly discussing with us also how the things are proceeding and what I had done and what I have been suggested. What is the difference in that, and accordingly, but he was sporting enough to do all those changes in his own response, and overall he is living the dream which others dream of. Actually, frankly, I am very happy that he has gone into IIM Lucknow, which is my dream at one time, but because of the other things, I opted for a CA career, not for the IIM. But so he is living his own dream as well as mine.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Hope your 4-star hotel is not just 1 or 2, but it will spread across, and perhaps he has those thoughts in his head too. It will be wonderful things to see, especially the tourism. India as a nation has a lot to discover, and the hospitality industry has a great future. That's what I see.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure interacting with you, sir, and I wish many youth have got parents like you. It's a pleasure having you.
This was a pleasure for me also to interact with you, and thanks a lot for being a mentor with Dhwaj. It will go a long way in his life to help him achieve his own goals. So he'll always be thankful to you also.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Each one of us, if we are able to impact a few more youth, I'm sure Dhwaj with his performance, and what you have seen, Dhwaj, I'm sure small touch here and there, many more youth will go and make this nation a much better nation to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm sure when I'm going to land in Guwahati, I'm going to knock at your door.
Yeah, we'll most welcome you. Welcome you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Dhwaj, how are you feeling? Father, interacting with the father, when I asking him, and he was talking about you and the whole process. How are you feeling?
So it actually, these were things I already knew, but he put it into words for you, sir. So it actually made me realize what was his philosophy. But again, the thing is, me and my father, we have a very open communication, and he's also a little intellectual in his own way. So we do discuss ideas, and we've discussed this earlier also. Like raising a child is like planting a seed, watering it and nurturing it with love, compassion, sometimes a little bit of hard love too. And at the end, you can just hope it blossoms into a tree. There's no fixed formula for anything. So we already knew that. We had an open communication about that. So talking about like seeing my dad put it into words, it just made it real key. Okay, this is what it is.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's been a real pleasure interacting with you, Dhwaj. I hope this interaction will be of great value to many more youth who aspire to hoist their flags in their dream institutions. Yeah, and it's been wonderful. And looking forward to many more interactions with you. And I am known to not let go people. You must have seen my level of interaction that happens with the Telegram group.
No, sir, it's actually a very fresh, what to say, to see people actually being invested into other people's growth. It is something you don't see in this time's world because everybody is running to get things done. Everybody has a lot on their plate, but seeing somebody else being invested in somebody else's growth, it makes a lot of difference. And actually, you actually feel happy that somebody is actually is out there for you, is actually invested in you. So your parents are always there, but then you start taking them for granted. But knowing that there's Sreeni sir who is invested in my well-being, invested in knowing how I'm going, is invested in the upliftment of everybody around me. So that actually brings in a little bit of gratitude and flavor into life. If I can put it that way.
Thank you. I'm sure you will also be there for many, many more youth who want to make the difference. Thank you very much. Thanks for helping me in creating this small episode of positivity in somebody's life, which will change perhaps some few lives. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you,
I
sir.
look forward to catching up with you between every term, between the terms. So you may have 3-4 episodes following it. Thank you.
For sure, sir.
Thank you. All the best.
By the way, sir, do you have some time? I would just like to chat a little bit before breakfast, if that's
Yes, yes.
possible.
Yeah, sure. I will stop it here.